Anyway, enough of all that, man. If you could, can you just start off, like, just talk to us a little bit about who you are, kind of maybe what you do within, maybe just a touch on your background.
Okay. My name is Alexander Starr. I am a recording artist and songwriter based in South Florida, and I use my music as a vehicle for positive change. What does that mean? It means that I write music that appeals to the commercial markets, but doesn't use degradational or degrading, same thing. It doesn't use degradational, ignorant, or reckless messages. You can have fun without being ignorant. And, you know, my music is fun, it's insightful, it's thoughtful. I just so happen to not curse or degrade women.
How did you grow up?
How did I grow up? Pretty free, pretty liberally. You know, my folks are, I'm interracial. My dad is African American and Cherokee Indian from North Carolina. My mom is Romanian and Polish Jewish from New York. And I grew up in Tennessee. They pretty much understood and recognized like how diverse life is because they come from multiple backgrounds, so they pretty much didn't force anything on me. They let me be who I wanted to be, providing guidance, but basically telling me like believe what you feel in your heart is right and go with it and commit to it. But also growing up in Tennessee, as a person of color, it doesn't matter that my mom is white. You put me in a room full of white people, I'm the black guy. But also if you put me in a room full of black people, they used to call me white boy. So I had to learn early on that simply knowing who you are and not really caring what other people think you should be is really the only way to move forward in life. So, you know, I grew up liberal, and I was able to find my way, I would say by like middle school, early high school. That's when I really kind of figured out that I'm me, not necessarily somebody that needs to fit in with other people. That's when things got cool.
Well, where do you, so kind of back, you kind of touched on this a little bit last, but you're saying your father was kind of older when, when he had you, so that gave you kind of a different perspective.
Well, both of my parents. My mom's a year older than my dad. They had me at like 37. All right, so whereas most of the kids in my grade, not only are my parents older than most, they started me in school like a year younger than other people. So, I graduated at 17, which it's not that young, but most of my classmates were 18 when they graduated. But like their parents were somewhat cool, right? Some of my friends' parents would rock Jordans or, get their kids the FUBU jerseys. That's what was in back in my day. And, my parents were the ones getting generic everything. As they reached that stage in life where they understood that name brands don't necessarily carry weight in the real world. In adult life, name brands don't necessarily mean that much, depending on who you are. At least in my family, they didn't. So, everybody had the LA lights with the light ups and stuff. I had the versions that didn't come with the lights. I had I was like, I don't even want these. Like, they're not cool without the lights. But my parents were like, listen, that's what we're getting you, and that's what it is. I didn't get Lucky Charms because my mom is a strict vegetarian too. She's like, my mom is a hippie, so on the occasion, maybe like once every couple months that we did get Lucky Charms, we couldn't pour our own cereal. She would measure out, she would figure out on the label what a serving size is. Okay, serving size, 1 cup. She would take a measuring cup, divvy out 1 cup, baggie, twist tie. Boop. Do that for the whole box of Lucky Charms. So if I wanted Lucky Charms, I pull out a baggie, untwist it, dump it in the bowl, and that's my exactly 1 cup serving of Lucky Charms. I freaking hated that growing up. Because everybody else's parents were cool, gave them all the junk food, all the fruit roll-ups they wanted, all that stuff, and my parents wouldn't do that. And, I was as agitated as a kid, and now as an adult, and I understand what people are putting in foods, and like I'm still a vegetarian, and I'm healthy, and I'm also a type 1 diabetic, which is a whole nother story. So I really understand the value of eating well. I appreciate my folks for that. I appreciate that they did that, because now with my little boy, like, I'm rationing him like that too. Where I used to hate it, now I love it. So
Yeah. So you kind of understand a little bit about their perspective a little bit,
yeah,
and it's kind of shaped you, into the person that you are today. And of course, like our parents are our biggest influences, right? Aside from your parents, what was your biggest? What were your other biggest influences?
when you live in a small town, your biggest influence is like the media. Outside of your immediate circle, the media, because you're seeing people, places, and things that don't exist in your hometown. Like, they're almost not real, right? Like, in my town, you were black, you were white, or you're black and white, like me. There weren't, very many other cultures. So you almost treat it like, if you haven't traveled, it's like when you don't travel, like, you don't actually take it serious that there's a whole nother world out there, because you don't know. You've never experienced it. So my influences were like watching the television, listening to the radio, but it was all like, just a really top 40 stuff, commercialized stuff. Because we didn't even have like a hip hop station in my town. That's how small it was. We had a top 40 station. So I heard the top 40 rap, but I didn't hear like Brooklyn rap. I didn't hear like, underground rap music or whatever. I just heard what was on the radio. So, that was a big influence for me. Seeing big cities and bright lights, and dreaming that one day I'll get to see a skyscraper and stuff. That kind of motivated me to want to get out of my small town. And yeah.
How do you think those influences have shaped you now? So you said they kind of give you a little bit of motive. They were there. You kind of maybe you saw television, you saw the radio, maybe you just kind of heard this rap, and maybe even to some extent again it kind of motivated you kind of get out. Any other ways that you can think that maybe that those influences may have begun to shape your thinking?
Well, certainly. I mean, just like the music that I liked growing up largely shaped the development of my artistic style, right? So I live many places, and I've taken elements of everywhere that I've lived and sort of digested them and made them a part of my blood. So, the commercial top 40 music that I was listening to as a kid growing up, like, I was able to, and I've always been able to replicate the formulas and stuff. So after Tennessee, moving to North Carolina, the type of music they listened to was completely different. They started, they put me on to like Cannabis and Pharoah Monch and like early Eminem, like real like hip hop, lyrical, wordplay type of flow. So I already had the, like the commercial music aspect. Then I took in the lyrical aspect, and I just digested that. Then I moved to South Florida. South Florida is like the entire world down here. So coming here, I was opened up to so many other type of music, reggae music, compa, Latin music, like everywhere there's music. So, dude, it's where you are shapes who you are, largely, So I'm grateful for Tennessee, because now, in regards to the Alexander Star brand, I bring small town values to the big city scene. It's the best way I could describe it.
No, that's sometimes it's what you need to just kind of go back to your roots. So no matter where you are, right, there's still a link back, to how you got there. And then sometimes getting away too far, we lose contact of maybe what may be really important. That sometimes like those smaller towns or smaller cities, like commercialism kind of fades away, and it's just like, this is who we are, this is what we do, and we have those links to the past. Is there anybody else like growing up? I know you said your dad is black and Cherokee. Did you have influence by men, particularly black men, growing up as well?
Yeah, man. My friend's parents. Probably even more specific example is the Noops. The Noops in Martin, Tennessee. When I was in 7th grade, um, we got a call on the intercom. And remember, this is a small town with maybe there's 300 kids in my school total, and maybe like a fifth of us are black, and that's guys and girls included. We get a call on the intercom. Will all the African American boys please come to the auditorium? And we were all like, what, they about to do gas chamber us or something? And it was actually Kappa Alpha Psi. Kappa Alpha Psi came to our school to kind of like big brother us and bring us into Kappa League and to mentor us. And it was great because these are college kids. I'm in 7th grade, 8th grade, and these college kids are taking me around with them. I actually became the president of Kappa League in middle school, and they were like just mentoring us, bringing us around, taking us to a couple of their parties, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, taking us to like, just cookouts in cabins in the woods and stuff, and it was just like really fly because they were just being big brothers. They would play basketball with us. They would have car washes in the Walmart parking lot for us, and they were just like mentors, So that to this day had a really profound impact on me and on the idea of being the person that you needed when you were young. Because I didn't have any big brothers. I have a big sister, she's 1 year older than me. But I didn't have any big brothers. So having older men and older like black men come into my life and just kind of treat me like a little bro, like that was really cool. And I never forgot that. And now I am that for other young kids.
Absolutely. I know the reason I asked that question is because so many of us, really may not have a father per se in the home, but we do have connection to some form of guidance usually, right? And maybe an uncle, maybe the janitor, whatever the case is, but in some way, somebody along your path usually will try to impart, some type of develop a relationship and impart some type of knowledge with you, and then for, as you said, to kind of be able to give back like they did to their community, is paramount. You're also doing work in the community right now. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing? Because you're doing some amazing stuff.
Cool, man. I appreciate you. Where do I begin? All right, so first and foremost, I teach songwriting classes to inner city youth that have suffered childhood trauma, abuse, been sex trafficked. I do it through an organization called the Motivational Edge. It's a nonprofit in Miami that provides a platform for inner city teens to express themselves and to be who they are creatively through the arts, whether it be music, poetry, dance, instruments, lyrical expression. That's what I teach. But I teach these classes in public schools, in private schools, and in residential facilities, so like lockdown facilities. For instance, earlier today I was in DJJ, Department of Juvenile Justice. Once a week, our class replaces English class in the lockdown facilities. Really innovative stuff, man. And we're basically, we come to the class with topics, with lessons about the topics we speak about, and instrumentals. And we get these kids who otherwise we come in, I throw on a beat, I talk about what we're gonna talk about, I spit a verse, I got all the kids sitting up, I'm like, oh, Mr. Star Snap, okay, I could do that. And we get these kids who with like a 0% performance rate to turn to like 100% performance rate. And they share their lives, they share their stories, because we're not coming at them with a clipboard. We're coming at them with beats and vibes. So, I serve the community in that way, in being a recording artist role model, because these kids, they come from really, really rough backgrounds, and All they know is cussing. All they know is the street life. All they know is, I'll kill my enemies because my enemies want to kill me. That's all they know. And we expose them to other ways of thinking. We expose them to forward thinking as opposed to quicksand thinking. They're used to being in the quicksand, and they rap about being in the quicksand with that mentality. That we showed them that there are branches that you could grab onto and pull yourself out musically. So that's one way. Another way is I'm Chief Brand Ambassador of AFR Clothing, educating Africa one shirt at a time. So our clothing line, AFRclothing.com, donates 20% of our profits directly to the tuition fees of underprivileged kids in Africa, because there are more than 50 million kids around the world, according to UNESCO, that are primary school age that aren't enrolled in school. More than half of them are in sub-Saharan Africa. My business partner, Kuda, is from Zimbabwe, so he knows firsthand. And AFR Clothing seeks to alleviate that number and providing kids with the opportunity to educate themselves so that they can not only help themselves get out of dire situations, but also help those around them. Education would do that. Yeah.
Man, so many things even kind of go from that. I could ask, okay, how did you even get hooked up with DJJ going there in the first place? Or just why do you think, I guess maybe a better question would be, why do you think they responded to you as opposed to responding to maybe their traditional people? Yes, there's a clipboard, but at the same time, they still feel the same, right? They still need to produce in this class. They still need to get a grade. They still need to get credit for this course, right?
Yeah.
So they still have that same pressure, I guess, on them. But why do they respond to you feel as opposed to responding to maybe the traditional form?
I feel they respond really well to us because we bring in an essence of relatability. We're teaching them, but conversationally and contextually through rhyme and through music, as opposed to a structured textbook lesson. They relate to us because we relate to them. My co-instructors and everybody at the Motivational Edge, we actually work in our fields. I'm a full-time recording artist, so when I come in there and I tell them what I do and I show them what I do, they know I'm the real deal. Same thing with my co-instructors, like Chaz. He was in there with me today. He's an industry producer. He got placements with major artists, and we bring his beats and we play his beats, and they're like, "Dang, you made that?" We bring the real life music industry to them. We just happen to be teachers through that, and the teachers get with it too. The teachers start rhyming. The teachers come and write verses in the class and share them with the class. So then, we got the students laughing, and we got the teachers having fun with the students. So that's like strengthening relationships right there, because whenever we're not in the class, these teachers got these kids every day, right? So, when we're not there, vibes are different. We get great reports that like, man, ever since y'all came, like everybody's like on their best behavior because they want to make sure y'all come back. Because we let them know, like, listen, man, y'all like this class, y'all like doing this. Y'all can't act up during the week, man, or they're not going to bring us back. And we're still coming.
Yeah. A lot of those students and a lot of kids in that situation have felt like they have given up in some way. And then in some ways, maybe the system is just about to give up on them as well. So some of those students, that may be like their last stop before, they have either jail, county, federal, whatever as an alternative. Not dwelling on that, but have you ever come to a place where you felt you were about to give up? What was that kind of situation? And then, just like maybe you have been the catalyst or reason that someone else has begun to move on, what was the catalyst or reason for you to continue?
Man, that's funny because those thoughts, when you're independent, cross your mind every day. When you're an entrepreneur, those thoughts cross your mind every day. Like, you know, what did I get myself into? You know, things aren't paying themselves back. Like, how much longer can I do this for? I remember a specific situation where I was really frustrated because in my career, like I said, I don't really cuss and I don't degrade women, not anymore at least. And I had put out my first solo album, No Hype, Just Hope. And I was really, really, really excited about it. But I didn't market it properly. I knew that there were hit songs on there, but I didn't have the capacity, at least I thought back then, to really do much with it. So the album didn't do much. And especially being an artist in the music industry with a positive message, that's like completely against the grain, especially on a mainstream level. And despite that, and despite many, many, many people telling me, like, dude, you gotta make club songs. You gotta make songs for the club. You gotta make songs for the club. Me, I hate clubs. Like, I do not enjoy them. You know, the only time I really would ever go to a club is either for business, which I really don't see a point in, but it happens, or for friends getting married. I'm sitting there watching everybody. I'm the designated guy, right? So I don't like clubs, but they're telling me I need to make club music. So I decide, listen, I'm sticking to my guns, but nothing's happening. So Kuda called me one day saying, hey, Star, I gave your album to one of my coworkers. He's like this 50-year-old guy, and he wants to talk to you. Can I give him your number? I was like, yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, have him call me. So the guy called me. He's a poet from back in the day. Apparently used to be like a really prominent poet up in Philly, and now he's got like 3 kids or whatever. I don't know how many now. This was like 7, 8 years ago. And he spoke to me on the phone for legit like an hour and a half, telling me how he listened to my album from beginning to end, and it amazed him how I made records like that without cussing and without degrading women. And he hit me with this word that to this day, like, gives me chills and I'll never forget. And this was at a point where I'm like, I was legit getting really frustrated, like, man, nobody wants to hear this, man, ain't nobody really into this positive music stuff, you know. All right, this album is cool, but I don't know if I'm gonna do anything further with it. And at the end of our conversation, like an hour and change in, he was like, Star, I just want to urge you not to change your direction. He said, you probably feel like nobody's really paying attention. You probably feel like nobody has any idea the value of what you're doing. And I'm like, man, it's exactly what I feel like. And he said, let me put it this way. Star, you're so early for class that you feel like nobody's gonna show up. You're in the classroom, sitting in a desk, the lights are off, and your head is down because nobody's there. He said, keep yourself in that classroom. Eventually the lights are gonna flip on. You're gonna see people filling in the room. You're gonna be surrounded by people in all the desks, and you're gonna stand up and realize that you're the professor. And when he told me that, that kind of just reinvigorated, because he saw the skill and the craftsmanship that I put into what I'm doing. And he reaffirmed that even though I'm completely against the grain of the industry, tides shift. And I'm already going into the direction that the tide is shifting. So where everybody's ebbing this way with the tide, I'm swimming this way. Eventually, the tide goes back out, and that's just gonna propel me. So, you know, that was really encouraging. And throughout the years, I've gotten that so many times from so many different people. Strangers, complete strangers who didn't even know I do music. I've had homeless people stop me in the streets with a group of friends. And these people look crazy, but they've stopped and they pointed at me. You. God is doing something with you. Not you, not you, not you, not you. Y'all are cool, but you. Don't stop what you're doing. Random homeless people. That's weird, but it's happened many, many times. So it's one of those things that one time it's weird, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you pay attention. Yeah.
Man, I agree. I appreciate it. I remember when I first heard heard some of your music, and I was like, I just moved down here to South Florida, but I was looking to try to connect with people who are doing some pretty positive things. I was doing my, doing my film thing or whatever, and heard your music. I was like, yeah, man, I really want to do. So I want to be a music video. I don't know, but I really want to do like a music video for this guy or whatever, because I agree with you completely, 110%. Like we don't have to, have derogatory music that tears people down. Whether or not, somebody's being built up by it, probably the owners of the record label. But you don't have to have music that tears people down. And the more people and families that we can put together, the stronger that we are. And I feel like that's what your music is doing. So I gotta get a new copy of it. So I actually gave No Hype Hope to a friend of mine, because I was like, you know what, this is gotta listen to this album. So I gave him
Appreciate that, man.
Back to those kids are a product of their surroundings or so, and there could be a lot of different issues or so floating out there. If we look at like black men in general, what's the biggest issue you think that black men have? Biggest problem?
I think it's complex. There's a combination of things that feed into each other. I think identity is a huge thing, though. What you identify with, excuse me, what you identify with is what you lean towards, and I think a lot of young black kids are taught to identify with certain things that aren't necessarily who they are, or who they're meant to be, It's challenging to say, man, but yeah, it's really challenging to say, but identity, yeah.
I know you kind of going back to your maybe struggles like in the beginning of like, okay, I'm black, I'm white, kind of like that identity struggle in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So I could agree. Can you give me a few more moments? Do you think you can expound on that? Why is identity so important in the first place?
Sure. I mean, okay, I'll give myself as an example. Let's say middle school, right? Before I really figured out who I was, I would see what other people thought was cool, and I would want to be a part of that because it's cool. Everybody likes it. So let me go over here and try and fit in with this crowd, right? The interesting dynamic. The interesting dynamic about you feeling the need to fit in with somebody is that they now have the upper hand on you in all ways. You're trying to be a part of them so they can put you through whatever they want to earn their acceptance. And oftentimes they're just having fun with you, and they see that you're willing to do what, silly things to be a part of them. So you do silly things that you end up regretting, and you realize that you didn't even want to hang with them in the first place. So I would adopt a certain lifestyle to try and hang out with certain people, and it didn't work because I was never cool enough. Then I would switch it up and adopt another kind of lifestyle and take on other interests and hobbies because that's what these people over here like. And it didn't work because, I never measured up. And it wasn't until I said, you know what, this ain't working. Forget that. I like this, I like that, I like this. So this is what I'm gonna do. I don't care if nobody does it with me, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't care if nobody likes what I wear. I rock Tom's shoes. I like these shoes. You make fun of me if you want. I think they're dope. When I started carrying myself that way, now everybody wanted to be a part of what I was doing. Like, man, how is this guy so comfortable with himself? When you're comfortable, you make people uncomfortable because most people aren't comfortable and they envy comfort, or at least they covet it. Everybody wants to be comfortable, but most people can't because they're taught not to be. They're taught by products, by marketing, by commercialism that, yeah, you're cool, but with this, you can be better. That's how marketing works. Marketing is meant to make you think that the product will make you better, it'll improve you. And when you figure out you're cool just the way you are, you can expand upon that and you gain value. People start seeing that value. And I don't think that sort of mentality is marketed enough in the black community. The black community is extremely commercial. Quick to rock Louis and spend $800 on a belt, rocking Jordans for $200 that some slave overseas made for $1 or less. They're quick to spend all this money on things that don't fulfill who they actually are. And I think that's probably the biggest epidemic for black people is commercialism. Always thinking that you gotta drive this, you gotta have that. Don't get me wrong, having nice things is cool. I want a very nice car. I want an Audi S8. Like that's my gold car, and a Lincoln MKZ Black Label. I'll take one of them too. But it's not to stunt. It's because I've done the research on these cars and I like it. A lot of people just want a car because they feel like if I'm driving a Benz, all these girls is gonna want me. I know dudes that got old Honda Civics that got more beautiful girlfriends than guys with Benzes because it's your personality that matters. It's your character, it's your values that matter. And, maybe, just maybe, the black community isn't given that message on a mainstream level. It's always the underground cats that give the good messages, but the mainstream cats, they give the message that you need to buy things to matter.
So you kind of already began to touch on it. So if we could propose a solution for the underground folks kind of know the story. How do you put that message, the underground message, in a way that's palatable, or maybe if you kind of think about what you're doing in the community, relatable to maybe the black mainstream?
It's got to be cleverly done. It's got to be very cleverly done. And I ain't gonna lie, it's difficult to do. To make a commercially marketable record with a consciously sound message. It's challenging, but it's not impossible. And, given the climate of the music industry, there needs to be some humor in it. The same way that comedians deliver profound political messages and profound messages about racial relations and things like that, delivered through comedy, you acknowledge what they're saying, but you're laughing, so it's not like you're being preached at. I feel like musicians with a message gotta approach it the same way. Have your message, but don't preach your message. Don't make it blatant, because when people feel like they're gonna preach that, they don't wanna hear it. You just gotta make it clever, make it funny. Like, if you got bars, man, write bars, but make sure your bars are clever enough to make people want to rewind what you just said. Just make it profound, Make home-cooked meals, not fast food music.
What do you think success for black men looks like?
What do I think success for black men looks like?
Right. So, I guess I'm trying to make this as objective as possible. So, right now, I would say I would categorize on a mainstream level, the image of black men is something of maybe like a fearful in some ways, and we can touch on that in a little bit. So, is there a way? What would success on a mainstream
A couple things. Um, the first being self-support. Black people don't tend not to support black people. There are niches that do. There are cultures of black people that support black people, but most of them don't. Going back to Gucci and Louis, those companies, who are they helping, right? I mentioned Tom's shoes. I like Tom's shoes because every pair that I buy, they donate a pair to somebody else. Like it's doing something. AFR Clothing, we're educating kids in Africa with every T-shirt, you know. But the black community doesn't necessarily lift up its own people, whereas other races stick together. They stick strong. So self-support, that's one. I mean, that's a huge topic to tackle because there's been a lot of mental conditioning. But number two, entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is huge, you know, and we're not really taught that in school too much. We're taught, you know, you get your degree and you could get a good job working for somebody else. But when you're working for somebody else, you're working for somebody else's dream. You know, we got dreams too. Why don't we have, you know, people working for us? And we do. There are a lot of black entrepreneurs out there, but the strengthening of the mind to where you're determined to work for yourself and not for somebody else, it means taking the long road. You know, a lot of people like taking the short road, and change doesn't happen on the short road. Change happens on the long road, you know. And you have to look at entrepreneurship like a sacrifice, right? If you want to make it as an entrepreneur, oftentimes you have to sacrifice a lot of comforts and securities, right, for a while until your entrepreneurship pays off. And to make those sacrifices mean you might have to live on the couch for a while, pursuing your goal. But as long as you're working every day towards that goal, you're not gonna be on the couch forever. If you have a 9 to 5, obviously, you know, everybody gotta support their family, support themselves. You need to have a 9 to 5 and then a 6 to midnight. Forget going to the club, forget hanging out and chilling, forget a social life. Your dream is your 6 to midnight. Because if you could put in 8 hours working for somebody just to afford your car and your house and some food, like, what are you doing for everything beyond that? You know, that's up to you. That's on you. That's not on anybody else. So I see black success being entrepreneurs that support each other.
That's nice. I like that. Appreciate you for supporting me. All right.
And likewise.
Yeah. Do you see any barriers? You kind of already touched on it a little bit, but what would be the barriers to that?
Mentality. Mentality is the biggest barrier. I don't even see a need in acknowledging any other barriers. Because if you think it's a barrier, that means it's actually blocking you. Just look at it as, look at certain things that one person would call barriers. Look at them as challenges, right? There are, you know, coming from Tennessee, right? I'm driving through, like, yo, there's mountains there, right? The highway is through the mountains, but there were mountains before there were a highway. That was a barrier that turned into a challenge. They blasted the rock through the mountains, and now there's a highway going right through the middle of mountain ranges. Who would have thought that was possible? Somebody did, and now that's how everybody gets to work every day, right? Like, if you see a mountain in front of you, man, pull out the dynamite. It's mentality. A lot of people don't think things can be done, but it's the ones who approach those things that can't be done and do them anyway. They just completely change the game. You know, we are game changers. We are game changers. We're gifted. We're brilliant. We're talented. We do amazing things. We're just not told that that's what we are very often. We're told that we're other things more often than not. But really, why not focus on anything but, why focus on anything but the fact that we're gifted, we're talented, we're brilliant, we're amazing? Like, figure that out. Figure out that this is your era to make a huge difference in this world, and you'll do it as long as you dedicate time every day to doing it. Chip it away. It's not an overnight thing, but, you know, Instead of playing video games, write up a business plan. 2 hours every night. See where you are in a month. See if you don't got $1 million business plan in a month. Sacrificing TV, sacrificing video games. You know, that's just, you know, it's a give and take.
Absolutely, man. I agree with that, you know, mentality. I know James Dunn said, as a man thinketh, so is he. And based off of quoting the Bible as well, passage from the Bible. So it's, if your mind is conditioned in a certain way, you don't really have to worry about your actions because they're going to follow that path, right? So just having the ability to think of yourself as having the solution, even if you don't know the solution, but you have the solution, it is possible. You know, once you see that, okay, I believe this is possible, then the only real task is just figuring out how it is possible, right? And then that becomes honestly what strengthens you to make it possible. So
Yeah.
having the self-fulfilling prophecy, kind of in that same step. You talked about a little bit about, I remember last time about this is my era. Where do you find inspiration?
So inspiration in what regard?
So what is it that keeps you moving? What is it that gets you moving, and what is it that keeps you moving? So maybe it's motivation and inspiration.
Motivation and inspiration comes from the fact that I know that my gifts are not for me. They're to share with other people. And everything that I do is for a reason bigger than me. It's bigger than myself. You know, I'm reminded constantly that there are people relying on me for many things. And included in those things, there are people relying on me to win. And my motivation is knowing that, you know, in winning, I'm empowering other people to win as well. There are a lot of people with like minds that are afraid to express what their minds are like because there aren't many role models or public figures expressing that their minds are like this. And every show that I do, every class that I teach, every, you know, music review that I get, that where people let me know that, man, I didn't think that this was possible, but you're doing it. Like, dude, that's way bigger than me, because in my mind, I'm not doing anything special. I'm simply making music the way that I want to make it. But knowing that it's touching people in a way that I couldn't even design lets me know that it's bigger than me. And I'm constantly reminded of that. You know, this is my era because whether I like it or not, what I'm doing impacts people and it's impacting the world. And that's a huge responsibility. It can be intimidating, but I'm not afraid. And that's what keeps me motivated, is because I know that there are people out there ready to support me and actively supporting me. And yeah, there's something way more powerful than me at work.
Yeah. Are you reading, watching, listening to anything right now to kind of feed your soul, feed your mind, to help move you forward?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of NPR, National Public Radio. I just listen to the news. I listen to what people are talking about, to what's going on in the world. And I stay up on current events world-wise. I don't listen to much entertainment per se. But in terms of books, I recently read The Alchemist by Pablo Coelho. That's a really good book. Shout out to AXR The Alchemist who gave me that. And working on the This Is My Era brand. We've got our This Is My Era podcast where we interview people from around the world who are making huge differences and have made it their era and share their stories of how they've done it. So just to give you some examples, season 1, We've got NBA players turned NBA executives. We've got corporate entrepreneurs, like multimillionaires. We've got Olympic athletes. We've got, authors. We've got owners of social entrepreneurships that are, donating millions of dollars of their profits to, to their own charities and other charities. And, these are, we got a couple kids on our show, richest kids in Maine, and, they made millions of dollars in their late teens from being entrepreneurs, and they're simply sharing how they've done it. And that's what This Is My Era is all about. So I'm just simply surrounding myself with people who are doing great things and showing and telling the world that, this is not impossible. Like, we did it. We made millions of dollars before we turned 20. Why can't you? Obviously they don't say it like that, but if you approach it with that mentality, like, somebody in the world is a billionaire. Why not me? Why not us? They weren't born billionaires. They did something and they followed, chain of actions that led them to that. So just living with that mentality that this is my era and everything that I do is an investment into something huge as time goes by. That's what I'm on, man.
Yeah. All right. A couple last questions, man, and call it a day. We're living in an interesting time. You see a lot of reports, especially like on the news and on NPR and just different outlets about black men, especially being shot by police or choked or whatever the case is. Even just recently, the verdict comes in St. Louis by the police involved shooting. What is your have you ever had interaction with police, and what is your view on the situation now?
This is one of those topics where it's very hard to understand if it hasn't happened to you. Yes, many times I've had encounters with police. Not all bad, but many times just unnecessary aggression. And I would love to sit here and tell you that, if you just carry yourself respectably, they'll treat you respectably. There have been many times where I've done that and became really cool with them. I've gotten pulled over where, I've gotten pulled over in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m. My hair was looking crazy. This is back when I was a teenager. And I asked the cop why they pulled me over, and they're like, oh, because it's late and you look like you could be selling drugs, right? And I'm like, how does someone look like they're selling drugs? But I was just cool with them. And I was like, I'm not doing that, man. I'm a recording artist. They're like, oh, you're a recording artist? No, you got a CD? Yeah, I do. You want one? And I was just cool with them, and everything turned out cool. They're like, boom, they took pictures with my CD and stuff. But other times, didn't matter how cordial or social I was, they're just bent against me because I'm brown. And it's very obvious that it was that way because they're conditioned. A lot of people are conditioned to think that brown people act and behave a certain way, or they're hiding something or concealing something. And because of that hysteria of black people, people don't act normal. A police officer is on edge a lot when they pull people over, and it's understandable. I respect that job, and I respect the fact that everybody wants to get home to their families. But I'm also a big advocate of when you're relaxed, when you talk to people, people relax in their responses. But I don't know, it's not really a, you can't apply this to every time, man. It's just really been some really, really dirty cops that I've dealt with that are just not cool, man. And you see how I'm talking like I'm traumatized, right? Because I kind of am. Like I see the cop's face in my head right now in this one particular situation I'm referring to, that I'm not even really gonna talk about. But it's just like, man, I shouldn't have to feel this way. I shouldn't have to feel this way about cops. I've ridden in the car with white people who were driving, and I'm like, they got pulled over, and dude, like, they're talking to the cop like any kind of way, like really any kind of way, and the cop is just kind of like talking to them like the cop works for the white person they pulled over. You know what I mean? They don't react that way to us. They're public servants. Police are public servants, but when they pull over black people, a lot of the time, not all the time, a lot of the time, they don't treat us that way. They treat us like suspects rather than people that they're sworn to protect. You know, we're the ones supposed to be protected, but you know, we're treated like the ones that they're protecting people from, and that sucks. That really sucks. And I've had friends of mine that are white that have issues with the whole taking a knee in the football games and stuff. The conversation came up today, like people are against that and against the protesting, and it's like, dude, this happened to me like, I don't know, 10 years ago, getting pulled over and told I look like a drug dealer, right? Like, that's not cool, but that happens every day in every state, probably in every country around the world. And how else are you gonna get the world to talk about it but by making people uncomfortable? Make them uncomfortable. I say, dude, whatever you gotta do to continue the conversation. People are gonna get mad, but the world has never changed by keeping people comfortable.
No, it's pretty insightful. I know, and sometimes it's tough because, like you said, you've had many encounters, and some of them have been good. Many have been good, but then there's many of them have been bad as well, or at the very least uncomfortable. And sometimes we'll just paint this broad brush of police, right? Because once you put on that uniform, you are kind of assimilated into that that picture and that perspective of us, of them from us, our perspective from them. So, and I think that we're wise enough to understand again that it's not all people who wear the uniform. Still, though, it seems that it's enough and it's been consistent enough that it is a concern that should be addressed, right?
Yeah.
I don't know everything that we talked about, ups and downs, highs and lows. If you were to go back to the time either in your childhood or maybe even adolescence or even not too old. I know you celebrated a birthday. Be happy belated.
Thank you.
But if you can go back to a time, either point in your life and either speak to you or speak to like a demographic of somebody in that particular time period. So 7 to 12, 12 to 15, 18, whatever. What advice would you give them?
So you're talking, you're asking, would I go back to myself at a particular age?
Yeah.
Or
and what would you tell yourself at that age? So, like, if you can go, like, for instance, I think for me, I would go back. There was this time in middle school. There was this girl that then I was like head over heels in love with. Oh my gosh! Like, if I could get married, I was in 7th grade. If I could get married, I would marry her right then. I was like, and I would have been like completely content and happy for the rest of my life, right? Like, I knew myself, like, that is who I wanted, right? She was right. I would go back right now. I mean, I appreciate where I am, but I would go back to myself right now. It's like completely down. But I would go back to myself now and I would say, you know what? I would say, protect your heart. Wait until you're ready to give your heart away to someone. Because I think, it's like, but you can never really get that back. It's hadn't really found myself in relationships until most recently. Like it took like all that time to kind of get myself back together
Mm-hmm.
to a point where I feel comfortable enough that this is a person, and I feel secure enough for this person to be like, you know what, cool, this is who I want to be with,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I'll go back to that time. It's like, you know, have some friends, go out, hang out, maybe even go on a couple dates or whatever like that. But there's no reason to jump off the deep end so much, right?
Right.
I would also tell myself, as good as I am in basketball, right, I would also tell myself, look at your grades, take your grades more seriously. I wasn't a bad student. I think I ended up with like a 3, 4, something like that in high school, right? So not a bad student, but I know I could have applied myself even much more, and I think I would have had more opportunities open up for myself, right? And I think with those opportunities, you know, maybe I would be in a kind of a different station as well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm complaining about where I am, but I think that those are some of the suggestions I would tell myself as well.
Gotcha.
Is there anything that you would say?
Oh yeah, so many things, but I don't know if I would have listened. Still, yeah. I mean, to backtrack on the girl situation, I was the same way, man. I was a little young and romantic. I see the one girl I want, and I'd be head over heels, even if she's not into me. I would try and be really romantic and woo her over, Romeo and Juliet style. But in this day and age, you know, that's how you really get hurt, because they want a thug nowadays. And, you know, that's neither here nor there. So I had to go through that to really learn what I should and shouldn't do when it comes to carrying myself in a relationship or a wannabe relationship or whatever. I had to, you know, I got experience with women, a lot of different girls that, you know, I needed to break hearts to realize that I don't like hurting people, you know. And I needed to get my heart broken to realize that I don't need to trust people as much or as easily as I do. But what I would go back and do is I would go back to a time where, you know, I would let myself still, you know, get experience with the ladies and do all that stuff. But aside from that, I would kick myself every time I would see myself wasting time. A lot of time has been wasted. A lot of time has been wasted doing things that add no value to my life. And, you know, it still happens every day. I just have the presence of mind to catch myself when I'm doing it. And I realize, man, like, you could be doing something productive right now, but you're not. So I'm like, all right, let me get back up and let me write these emails real quick. You know, if I catch myself watching TV for more than 10, 15 minutes. But, you know, back then, from the video games to the, like, sitting around smoking with my friends and like all that, they're cool experiences, but I didn't accomplish much. And, you know, with the exception of some good times and stuff, like, I could have been a lot farther in my life had I achieved wisdom at a younger age, you know. But again, you can't change anything about your life, you know. I have a lot more wisdom to gain, and obviously at this age, at 31, I'm a lot wiser than I was at 21. And if I knew back then what I know now, you know the cliche, I'd have been killing the game by like 23, 24. But I didn't, but I am now. So, time. I would tell my old self not to waste so much time, but again, probably wouldn't have listened because, you know, God is kind of, he got me in the oven baking, and he's not pulling me out until the timer goes off. I don't even know if the timer's gone off yet. I don't know. But I'm ready to hop out the oven. Hop out, steam on. But I'm being silly now. But time. It's the most valuable asset we got. You can't get it back once you've spent it. Yeah.
All right, man. Pretty much last things. What are 3 things that you would suggest? What are 3 skills, traits, abilities that you would suggest a young man, young black man have?
Okay. Number one, know thyself. Who are you and who are you not? Until you get that sort of thing cleared away, or at least get like a vision for what you like lock yourself mentally in a castle in the clouds. Like, yo, when nobody's around, what do I think about? When, you know, when I'm not pressured by friends, when I'm not like pressured by my parents, when there's nobody around me, what do I like? What do I not like? What am I good at? What am I not good at? Figure those things out about yourself, because that's gonna put you on the right platform, on the right stage to figure out where you're gonna make the most impact in this world. Because everybody's made to do something, but some people are spending their lives working a job as something they're not made to do. Figure out what you're made to do and avoid that life. Number two, I just go right back to it. Value time. Value your time, man. Like, there's so much you could be doing. There's so much you could get done. What are you doing with your time? I'm not like questioning. I'm just saying, ask yourself, what am I doing right now, and am I maximizing my potential? If you really want to be somewhere, if you really want to do something, are you doing anything to make it happen, or are you just wishing? You know, are you making it your era, or are you just like settling for the moment? You know? And number three, help other people, because you need help from other people. So when you put that energy out, when you just help people without expecting anything in return, you'll get blessings like tenfold from other people that you didn't even expect. People will just come and help you with something or bless you with something out of nowhere because you gave from your heart somewhere else. And really, that's what we're here for, man. We're not here for us. We're here to use our gifts and talents to help other people. So it's just a shame if you're using what you're good at to only benefit yourself. Number one, it's selfish. Number two, people see through it. People don't really like that. Like, even if you're the best basketball player on earth, like, oh my God, you're amazing. If you're not a team player, nobody's gonna like you. Everybody's gonna call you a ball hog. Everybody's gonna be like, I don't like playing with that dude, man. He never passes. Don't care if you're doing, 720-degree spiral dunks. You ain't passing to nobody. Nobody's gonna want to play with you. Pass the ball to people. Get some assists, and people will start throwing you alley-oops too. Bam, 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 bam. Social media, you need socials? Socials?
We gotta get a social page right here. Boom. Let me get a couple shots and then let me do this first before we do that.
Sure.
And I'm just gonna get you walking on.
Sure. I think I heard that one cut off.
Oh, it's okay. It's good.
Okay. And actually, before you tear this down, can I get a couple 20-second shout outs for the This Is My Era podcast because we're about to launch. I was like, yo, This Is My Era podcast is out right now. Go to thisismyera.com, check it out.
Absolutely.
Fly. I gotta give me one of these things, man.
Oh, man.
That little zoop zoop. That's what it's called, a zoop zoop.
I see I think I got Amazon.
Still interviewing?
We are wrapping up. We're done.
Oh, we done? Okay.
Yeah.
A couple of funny things happened.
Okay.
One, this guy, he declared that